So for each of the following problems, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to use all the rules that we studied before. Anytime we multiplied two terms, we added the exponents. Anytime we divided, we subtracted the exponents. And anytime we had something that was power of a power, basically we had something that looks like this: 2 to the 3 raised to the 6, which ends up 2 to the 3 times 6, which is 2 to the 18. And then calculate. You know how to do these, use them. Now we'll go through each of the problems. The first one, we get this: 3 to the 6 minus 4, which is 3 squared, which is 9. The second we get, you'll notice that we have negative 4 raised to nothing, so we have to put a 1 there. So what we end up having as our result is going to be 2 plus 1 as our exponent, which is negative 4 in brackets all cubed, which is negative 64 as our final answer. Now 5 squared is basically, 5 squared squared is power of a power, so it looks something like this. Let's go and do the problem. So this one's going to be 5 to the 2 times 2, which is 5 to the 4, which is 625. The next problem comes out to be this. It's negative 2 to the 3 because 12 minus 9 here and here gives us 3 as our exponent. Final answer is negative 8. Next answer ends up being 32,768. The result in the calculator will give us the following, which gives us this as our final answer. Remember, when we start with anything that's a negative exponent, we need to flip it first. So we end up having 1 over 4 cubed. Then we calculate 4 cubed to be 1 over 64 as our final answer. For the next one, you notice how we have a negative sign on the base. Keep the negative sign, raise it to the power of 2, but everything goes over underneath the 1. So now we end up 1 over negative 6 squared, which ends up being 1 over 36. Now, remember I told you that we could have the opposite of something, of the opposite happening if we have a negative on the bottom. So essentially, we basically flip this problem. 8 to the negative 2 on the bottom turns out to be 8 to the 2 over 1, which ends up being 64. Now for this last fraction, remember we need to flip it. Flip it first, so it ends up being 3 over 2 raised to the 5. Now we apply the 5 to the 3 and the 2. So we get 3 to the 5 over 2 to the 5, which ends up being, well, 3 to the 5 ends up being 243, and 2 to the 5 ends up being 32. And we leave our answer as that unless we can find a lower fraction, a lowered fraction, a simplified fraction.